I get asked this one question a bunch, which is, what inspires you to create stuff? I've noticed this has been a weird and hard question for me to answer because I don't really know what people mean by inspire. Is inspiration this mystical, magical force in the universe that hits you and provokes you to want to make something new? I don't really know what inspiration means for most people, which is why I don't ever really answer this question head on. But in the name of trying to answer this question, I've been thinking a lot about it. Let me start off by telling you what I think inspiration doesn't mean. I don't think inspiration is that burst of enthusiasm for something, or that fleeting feeling of excitement when you hear a motivational speech or you read a self-help book. In the course of a 10-minute video or a short book, you can feel those feelings of excitement and motivation, but I don't really see that as inspiration. Inspiration is kind of the opposite, in the sense that it is quieter. It's not a burst of excitement or enthusiasm. For me, it's a quieter thing that you have to wrestle with, and you have to discern it, and you have to act on it. The best kind of inspiration lets me see the thing that I want to make. It doesn't tell me how to make it, but it allows me to see something that doesn't exist, and then start the long process of building it. So by this definition of inspiration, which is my own version, probably different than yours, but by this definition, I can actually answer this question of what inspires me. I can think of one thing that fuels this desire to visualize something that doesn't exist and then plot the course to make it a reality. And that thing that inspires me is music. Okay, wait, hold on a second. If you think that I'm going to spend the rest of this video just talking in kind of fluffy, vague language about what inspires me, that's not the case. For the rest of the video, I want to actually give you some concrete, helpful tips on how inspiration works for me, and particularly how I use music to help frame out and tell stories. I'm not innocent when it comes to fluffy, motivational stuff, but this video will not be that from now on. So with that, let's get back to it. I'm gonna play an A flat major 7, which is one of my favorite chords, and I'll tell you a quick story. In 2013, Iz and I had just bought our first semi-professional camera. And I went on a trip to Peru. I was just getting into filming travels and editing it together. So that's what I did when I was in Peru with my new nice camera. While I was driving up into the mountains, my Pandora radio playlist served me up this song. This immediately sparked something for me. This song, while I was driving, really made me feel things, and it's the first time that I can remember feeling inspired to make something based on a piece of music. So I went back and I made this video that included a whole scene of me driving through the mountains with this music. This song is frankly too dramatic. It's a little bit too emotional for what I was doing, which is just traveling by myself in Peru. It doesn't really match the tone of the little story I'm telling here. The song really should be more something like this. I'm going to talk more about tone matching and how I think about that when it comes to using music to tell stories. But for now, let's use this little Peru example to talk about my first not fluffy, concrete tip when it comes to inspiration and music. I was a kid learning to tell stories, but while this song wasn't maybe the best choice to set the tone, or maybe it wasn't the most appropriate, the thing that was good about this experience is that I at least felt inspiration and then I acted on it. I think it's really easy to feel inspired by something and feel a desire to make something like that, or to integrate a song or something into your video, and then immediately put up blockades to that by saying, oh, this probably isn't good enough. Oh, I probably shouldn't do this because it's not cool enough. That's the best way to squash inspiration. My suggestion, my tip here, is that if you feel any sort of inspiration, you feel a desire to make something based on something you've seen or heard, follow it, nurture it, try to see it through. This was the first time I ever acted on it. And yeah, it wasn't perfect or great or whatever, but it was the beginning of a long journey of acting on inspiration that would eventually become better and better with time. Okay, so now for tip number 2. To me, music is like a superpower. You have this ability to make your viewer feel or think in a certain way for just a minute in the name of telling a story or communicating an idea. That's really powerful. Perhaps the biggest mistake and sometimes the most egregious offense when it comes to using music in telling stories is exactly what you saw with my Peru video. Abusing this music that is meant to kind of pull at the heartstrings and make you feel something when the story or the scene in the video really doesn't deserve it, to me, cheapens your video, and it takes away your ability to use that heartstring tugging emotional music in a place that actually deserves it, to actually create an emotional investment using music. I call this tone matching, or earning the feelings of your viewer. Don't unfairly use emotional music when the story doesn't warrant it. It's cheap, it's trashy, I've done it a million times. It's not a good look. Okay, so this third tip is gonna really help with what I just talked about with tone matching and earning feelings and stuff like that. In my mind, I see almost all music as falling into 2 big buckets. There is feeling music, which is what we just talked about, feeling emotional, it pulls at your heartstrings, feeling music. And then on the other side, there is thinking music, which is a very different vibe of music. This allows the viewer to be more focused on what you're saying and to engage more of their brain instead of like their feeling parts. If you're sharing information or you're sharing context or stuff that isn't really kind of emotional or personal, this is the type of music that you want to use. Okay, I'm talking in a lot of abstract terms, thinking, feeling. I want to dive in and show you what this actually looks like when I'm looking for music. I actually reached out to MusicBed when I was writing this video and told them that I was making a video about music and inspiration and that I was going to be doing a demo on their site, asked them if they wanted to sponsor it, and they said yes, so MusicBed sponsors this video. I am by no means making this video because of MusicBed. I would have made it anyway, but thank you MusicBed for sponsoring this video. I will talk about that later at the end of the video. For now, I want to show you this demo using MusicBed and feel like I had to tell you that MusicBed sponsored this video. You can see that just in the genres tab here, there are way more genres and types of music than just thinking and feeling. I want to be clear that I'm not saying that those are the only 2 types of music that I use in my videos. I'm saying that all of this music usually falls within one or the other of those buckets. So let's talk feeling first. I often find that if I hit things like ambient, I'm going to get a lot of feeling music. If you use this at the beginning of your video and you're not talking about like an emotional thing, you're off base. You should use this music once you've earned some sort of emotional investment, or if you're talking about something that's emotional and personal and that warrants this really beautiful sense of feeling. Okay, so Ambient. You'll often find some feeling pieces in the ambient category. Cinematic is another one. We'll often find more somber, contemplative, feeling type music. You're not going to be doing an explainer over this. This is uplifting, this is emotional, this is the climax of a big journey that is now happening, or a beautiful thing like a wedding. Uplifting acoustic, like obviously that's going to be feeling music. Uplifting, it's an emotional word. Coming home after 5 years away, we're feeling something. If you're going to use this, earn it. Okay, so what about for thinking pieces? I've talked a lot about like emotional feeling pieces. I think you know it when you hear it now. But what about thinking pieces? What does that sound like? Abstract beats. Let's see what abstract beats. Anything with beats is often thinking. There's not going to be deep emotional stuff when the focus of the music is a beat. Sometimes there is, but often that's a great signal that we're talking about more of a thinking piece. Yeah, this is a high energy thinking piece. This is like I'm moving along, we're going on an adventure, we're talking about stuff. This is cooler, it's less emotional. It's a little bit more emotionally neutral. This is sweet. Yep, I'm definitely downloading this one for future use. Thank you. Let's see what's in travel. Thinking piece. The other thing you can do instead of just looking at playlists is you can really hone in by deciding exactly what kind of attributes or adjectives you want to use. So there's genres. You can say, oh, I'm looking for like electronic music, and the mood, I want it to be chill, and I want it to be happy. Okay, let's say I'm looking for a thinking piece. Maybe chill and happy might give me a thinky type piece. It may give me a little too feeling with that happy in there. We'll see. So I've used this one for explanatory. Yeah, great thinking piece. Just not, I'm not too emotional. I'm not pulling anyone's heartstrings too much with this. Yeah, so this was a good one. Electric, chill, happy. It's good. Okay, let's do one more. Let's try to get, let's say, okay, I've got a video. I have created this big emotional arc, and I want there to be a climax where at the end of this long journey, I finally make it to this destination that I have hyped the viewer up in the course of my story. Let's find a feeling piece that will now fit within that, because you've earned the right to now use this emotional music to communicate exactly what you're feeling. So I want to just stay in mood and say uplifting, peaceful, love, contemplative maybe. Yeah, this is like really feeling stuff. Beautiful drone shot at sunrise as we're finally making it to the final peak. Here comes a swell, you can see it in the waveforms. What's this gonna be? Triumphant. Yeah, it resolves a little bit. Yeah, I like this. You get the point here. Thinking versus feeling. I want to make it clear, not every song is like one or the other. It's often some spectrum, but when I'm thinking of music, I'm often thinking of, does it fall more into one or the other category? And what is the tone I'm trying to set? Am I just talking about information and kind of showing us getting from one place to the other? That's more of a thinking piece. Am I talking about personal things or having an emotional kind of climax that's happening in the middle of the story? That's going to be more of a feeling. The fourth concrete tip, and the thing that maybe is now the most important tip if you're following along with these different concepts of thinking and feeling and tone matching and stuff like that. When I am telling a story that has kind of an ebb and flow, a 10-minute video or, you know, a Borders episode or a vlog or whatever it is, I want to make sure that my story goes back and forth between thinking scenes and feeling scenes. So I don't know, look at the most recent video I did on Amsterdam. Okay, so I start off with this thinking piece. It's information, we're here. Sea level. thinking piece. Look at this.
Of Holland, you see that a lot of it is.
So this is more of just a storytelling principle generally on how I structure my stories. I want there to be a piece where there's a lot of information, and just as the viewer's brain is getting tired of like tons of explainer information, you switch gears and you change the tone to something more emotional or feeling based. How do I do that? I'm in this explainer part where I'm explaining this section about how they took this, they built a wall and they built all these islands on the wall and this and that. And then,
I mean, it's totally crazy.
Let's take a breather and feel for a little bit. And kind of just like absorb this big thing.
Actually, a few years ago.
If you watch one of my videos, you will notice that I go back and forth between thinking and feeling. It's not like one for one for one for one. It's not like some mathematical formula. I try to make it a journey back and forth between the more cerebral thinking pieces and the more emotional, personal pieces that don't have to always be like sappy emotional, but are just a little bit less cerebral and a little bit more sensory or feelings based. So I really hope it made sense, and I hope you can apply some of these principles to whatever you're doing. If you've stuck around this long into the video, you clearly are interested in some aspect of this. So I'm curious to hear what clicked with you and what didn't. As I said earlier, this video is sponsored by MusicBed. I looped MusicBed into this idea because it seemed like a good fit. And because of that, they want to give all of you who are watching this a 30-day trial to have unlimited access to their giant library of wonderful music. As you saw, you can use these playlists and these attributes to really sort through and find the music that you're looking for to tell your story. The cool thing about MusicBed is that it's not royalty-free, meaning if you use an artist's music, they will get paid, which is kind of cool. But for you as the creator, you can just download unlimited songs for the monthly subscription and use them and monetize them even and get paid yourself if you're a YouTube creator. Or if you're just making videos for fun, it's also just a really cheap way to get good music. So there's a link in the description that you can click on and get a month for free and test it out and see if it works, see if you like it, see if you're into it. Thank you MusicBed for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching. I will see you next time.